Okay, today we're going to be carving a mushroom out of a 1x1x6 piece of basswood. So let's get into it. It's fairly simple. You're just going to select a point and then cut up to it. And you're going to do the same all the way around. And if you want to do a little bit of it lower so that it has a little more character and it isn't just straight up and down, you can do the backside two of these a little bit lower and then angle up towards them. And that way it'll look a little bit more realistic because they're not always just straight up and down, these mushrooms. Okay. So we got that pretty much cut out there. And then we're going to round off everything, obviously. So cut the corners. And then start rounding little by little. And round it all the way to the top. Once you have it, then you can start on the rest of it. And the idea is obviously we don't want to really have any square edges because that doesn't really exist in the mushroom world, as far as I know. I haven't seen all mushrooms, and I could be wrong about that, but you know, let's round the thing off because for our purposes, this is the type of mushroom we're doing. So now round off these corners. All right. And then we're going to cut down. And like I said, we're still just going to make it this sort of spherical shape. And we don't really want too much of a squareness here, but there's going to be some, obviously, especially if you're not sanding it or, you know, getting really fine with it. So just try and make it look as little like a box as you can. All right. Now obviously we want to cut this in a little bit more. We're going to want to cut it in a decent amount. That way the mushroom cap really kind of is prominent. I'll try not to get out of focus here. Okay. And once we get down a little ways, let's round this up and this up. You don't really want these corners here. You want it to look like it's a rounded mushroom. So kind of perfect that as you go. Okay. And then as you go, you might need to do a little more rounding at the top. It's actually not terrible, but something like that. And then let's dig in a little bit more here to get the stem a little bit more thin. Let's really get rid of a lot of this material here. And this is a cool little thing you can make, and then you can put it up on a shelf or display it on a table or whatever. That's a cool little decoration that you can make for yourself. And we'll clean this up a little bit. Okay, coming along nicely. Just a little bit more to go before we apply the paint. And always have a nice sharp knife. And I like to have the stem a little off center. I think it just looks more realistic that way. Doesn't need to be perfectly centered. Oops, okay. And about to call that good. A little bit of a swooping cut up here. And then we'll start putting on the paint. And as as you always see with mushrooms, you know, the most popular mushroom is going to be the red and white one. You see it everywhere. Okay, and what I would do is I would probably cut this off right here, or you can make it really tall, whatever you want to do. But take some, let me get a brush here. Take some red paint and spread it all over the mushroom cap. Liberally, but of course you want to spread it all out so that it dries quite quickly. Okay, and this is my favorite part, is the painting. I love painting these. And let's actually run it onto the underside here of the cap, and then we'll actually run the white, because this is going to be red and white. This is going to be the same as all the mushrooms you see in like storybooks, and I think it's called an Amanita muscaria. Okay, so we're letting this dry quickly by smoothing it all the way out. So now that's all for the red, and then we're going to take another paintbrush, and we're going to get some white. And first let's do the stem to give the cap a little bit of time to dry. Okay, we'll go straight from here down, and you can run it down onto the pedestal a little bit. That's all right if you want. Okay. Okay, a little bit more. And if you have to do a couple of coats, that's fine, you can. Just let it dry and go in for another one. And remember, we're using craft paint, a paint that will actually bond to the wood and it won't just soak in. It will sit on top of the wood nicely. You can see here, this is going to need another coat. I'm actually just going to go straight into another one here, because I think we can. Well, maybe. The red's kind of running a little bit. So maybe while we let that dry up a slight bit, we will go on to the little white dots. It looks like this is all dried up. So just put a nice little white dot there. Find another random location and put another one, something like this. Okay, let's do another one, maybe on the back side here. Okay, and just keep doing that. You can do them on different sizes if you want, some big ones and then small ones. It is up to you, but this is turning out nice. So let me put one more little coat on here, and this will be it for our little mushroom. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, consider subscribing, and I appreciate you watching. Oh, one more little bit here, and there we go. Thank you.